Hello, my name is Gary, and I was raised in the western United States, so I'm a native English speaker. I hope that you will enjoy this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne, 1828 to 1905. Chapter 5. A new type of funds unexpectedly appears in the stock market. Phileas Fogg knew that his departure from London would cause quite a stir in the West End. News of his bet spread quickly through the Reform Club and became the hot topic of conversation among its members. Soon the story made its way into the newspapers all across England. People everywhere were talking about his tour of the world, debating and arguing about it with as much intensity as if it were a major political issue. Some supported Fogg, but most people shook their heads and said it was absurd and impossible. They believed that traveling around the world in such a short time with the current means of transportation could only happen in theory or on paper. Prominent newspapers like The Times, Standard, Morning Post, and Daily News dismissed Fogg's plan as madness. Only the Daily Telegraph showed some hesitant support. Most people thought Fogg was crazy and blamed his friends at the Reform Club for accepting such a ridiculous bet. Articles full of passionate arguments were written about the topic because geography is a favorite subject for the English. People from all walks of life eagerly read the columns about Phileas Fogg's adventure. At first, a few bold people, mostly women, supported him. His idea became more popular when the Illustrated London News published his picture from the Reform Club. Some readers of the Daily Telegraph even said, "Why not? Stranger things have happened." Finally, on October 7th, a long article appeared in the Royal Geographical Society's bulletin. The article examined the idea from all sides and decided it was completely foolish. The article stated that everything was against the travelers, with obstacles from both people and nature. For Phileas Fogg to succeed, the departure and arrival times had to align perfectly, which was impossible. While he might count on trains in Europe arriving on time because the distances were shorter, expecting to cross India in 3 days and the United States in 7 was unrealistic. There could be machinery failures, train derailments, collisions, bad weather, and snow blocking the tracks. All these factors worked against him. When traveling by ship in winter, he would have to deal with unpredictable winds and fog. Even the best ocean liners are sometimes delayed by 2 or 3 days. Just one delay could ruin the entire plan. If Fogg missed a steamer by even an hour, he would have to wait for the next one, making his attempt impossible. The article caused a big stir, and being published in all the newspapers seriously discouraged supporters of the daring traveler. Everyone knows that betting is a big deal in England, where it's more than just gambling, it's part of the culture. Not only did members of the Reform Club place bets, but the general public also got involved, betting either for or against Phileas Fogg as if he were a racehorse. Special bonds called Phileas Fogg bonds were issued and traded on the stock exchange. At first, people were very interested and bought the bonds at their full price or even for more. But 5 days after the Geographical Society's article came out, interest started to drop. Phileas Fogg bonds became less popular. Lord Albemarle, an elderly gentleman who was paralyzed, was now the only person supporting Phileas Fogg. This noble lord, who was confined to his chair, would have given his fortune to travel around the world, even if it took 10 years. He bet £5,000 on Phileas Fogg. The number of people supporting Fogg dwindled more and more, and everyone was betting against him, with the odds being 150 or 200 to 1. A week after his departure, an incident occurred that caused him to lose all his supporters. The police commissioner was sitting at his office at 9 o'clock one evening when he received the following telegraphic dispatch. Ues to London. Rowan, Commissioner of Police, Scotland Yard. I found the bank robber, Phileas Fogg. Send without delay warrant of arrest to Bombay. Fix detective. The effect of this message was immediate. The respectable gentleman suddenly seemed like a bank robber. His photo, displayed at the Reform Club, was closely examined and matched the description of the robber given to the police. People remembered Phileas Fogg's mysterious habits, his solitary nature, and his sudden departure. It now seemed clear that his trip around the world, which he claimed was a bet, was actually a way to escape the detectives and avoid capture. Chapter 6. Detective Fix shows a very understandable impatience. The circumstances under which the telegraphic dispatch about Phileas Fogg was sent were as follows. The steamer Mongolia, owned by the Peninsular and Oriental Company, was an iron ship weighing 2,800 tons with a 500-horsepower engine. It was scheduled to arrive at Suez at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, October 9th. The Mongolia regularly traveled between Brindisi and Bombay via the Suez Canal and was one of the company's fastest steamers, consistently making more than 10 miles per hour between Brindisi and Suez and 9.5 miles per hour between Suez and Bombay. Two men were walking back and forth along the wharves, surrounded by locals and visitors in what was once a small village but was now growing quickly thanks to Lesseps. One man was the British consul at Suez. The canal had shortened the old route from England to India by half. The other man was small and slightly built, with a nervous, sharp face and bright eyes that kept darting around. This was Fix, a detective sent from England to find a bank robber. He was pacing nervously, unable to stay still, showing clear signs of impatience. Fix's job was to watch every passenger arriving at Suez and follow anyone who seemed suspicious or matched the description of the criminal he had received 2 days earlier from London. He was eagerly waiting for the arrival of the steamer Mongolia, driven by the hope of earning the large reward for catching the robber. "So, Counsel," he asked for the 20th time, "you're sure this steamer is never late?" "No, Mr. Fix," replied the consul. "It was at Port Said yesterday, and the rest of the trip isn't a problem for such a ship. I'm telling you again that the Mongolia has always arrived ahead of schedule and even won awards for its speed." "Does it come directly from Brindisi?" "Directly from Brindisi. She picks up the Indian mail there and left on Saturday at 5 p.m. "Have patience, Mr. Fix. She won't be late. But honestly, I don't see how you'll recognize your man based on the description you have, even if he is on board the Mongolia." A detective can often sense the presence of these criminals rather than just recognize them. Counsel, it's like having a special instinct that combines hearing, seeing, and smelling. I've caught more than one of these guys before, and if my thief is on that ship, I'm confident he won't get away. "I hope so, Mr. Fix, because it was a serious robbery. A fantastic robbery, Consul. £55,000. We don't often get such big opportunities. Nowadays, burglars are so low that a person can get hanged for just a few shillings." "Mr. Fix," said the consul, "I like your confidence, and I hope you succeed, but I think it will be difficult. The description you have seems to fit a very honest-looking person." "Consul," the detective said firmly, "the biggest thieves often look like regular people. Those with shady appearances usually stay honest to avoid suspicion. The real challenge is spotting the truly innocent-looking faces. It's a tough job, but that's what makes it an art." Mr. Fix clearly had the touch of self-importance. Slowly, the scene at the dock became busier. Sailors from different countries, merchants, shipbrokers, porters, and workers moved around as if the steamer was about to arrive any moment. The weather was clear, but a bit chilly. The town's tall towers rose above the houses in the soft sunlight. A long pier, about 2,000 yards out, stretched into the harbor. Various fishing boats and coastal ships, some still looking like old-fashioned vessels, were visible on the Red Sea. "How long will she stay at Suez?" 4 hours, just enough time to refuel. It's 1,310 miles from Suez to Aden, at the other end of the Red Sea, so she needs to take on more coal. "And does she go straight from Suez to Bombay?" "Yes, without stopping anywhere else." "Great," said Fix. If the robber is on board, he'll probably get off at Suez to take a different route to the Dutch or French colonies in Asia. He should know he wouldn't be safe for even an hour in India since it's under British rule. Unless, the consul said, he's exceptionally clever. An English criminal is often better hidden in London than anywhere else. This thought made the detective even more anxious. While the consul went back to his office, left alone, Fix was more impatient than ever, feeling a strong hunch that the robber was on the Mongolia. If the robber had indeed left London with the plan to reach the New World, he would likely choose the route through India, which was less monitored and harder to keep track of than the Atlantic route. But Fix's thoughts were quickly interrupted by a series of sharp whistles announcing the arrival of the Mongolia. Porters and workers rushed down to the dock, and several boats pushed off from the shore to meet the steamer. Soon the massive ship appeared, moving between the banks, and at 11 o'clock it anchored in the harbor. The ship brought an unusually large number of passengers. Some stayed on deck to enjoy the view of the town, while most got off by boat and landed on the dock. Fix took up a position and carefully looked at each person as they appeared. Soon one of the passengers pushed his way through the crowd of porters and approached Fix. He politely asked if Fix could direct him to the English consulate, showing a passport that he needed to have stamped. Fix instinctively took the passport and quickly glanced at the description. He was taken aback when he saw that the description matched exactly with that of the bank robber he had received from Scotland Yard. "Is this your passport?" Fix asked. "No, it's my master's." "And who is your master?" "He stayed on board, but he needs to go to the consulate in person to prove his identity." "Oh, is that necessary?" "Absolutely." "And where is the consulate?" "Over there, on the corner of the square," Fix said, pointing to a building about 200 steps away. "I'll go and get my master. He won't be pleased to be disturbed." The passenger bowed to Fix and went back to the steamer.